Okay, day 90. It's been a while, as always. Been busy, but I've gotten quite a bit done. I probably should start doing a little bit better job filming in between because I've got quite a little list here of things that I've done since the last filming. So just to get started, first things first, I have installed the AC unit, AC heater unit. You'll see the tubes running out of it. The two there on the front side, those will actually go down under the dash into this area here. I'm going to build a flat kind of a dash extension. So the dash really stops up here up high, and I'm going to build a flatter one down below just it'll be flush and connect to the upper dash. But I'm going to put that in so I can install a few extra things that I think would look a little cleaner versus moving them up on the dashboard. One is vents, so I'll actually cut that there and put a vent pointing at the passenger and at the driver coming off of that dash. And then also a couple of surprise things which I don't want to mention yet, as well as I'm doing seat heaters. So I'll put some switches on that lower dash mount, what we're going to call it. So that'll be a little fabrication. Also with the AC, I ran vents to the footbox. Now I'm not quite sure on the running of this vent. I'm not sure if I can go through there, if I'm going to need that space yet. So right now it's just laying on the outside. I did have to make, let's see if you can see this here. I had to make out of a little piece of metal I had left over a mount for this vent to go into. So give you an idea what it kind of looks like under. Let's see if I can get a good. Well, it's gonna be a little hard to see that one. But I'll tell you what, I'll go to the other side here and you'll see what I'm talking about. What that vent looks like. It's one of those adjustable vents. So here is the foot box for the passenger. And I just got it going on the top of the foot box. I will insulate around it. I think that'll work just fine. I'll have to put some heavy insulation over this tube so it doesn't let too much heat from the engine go into it. But there is what the vent will look like. And I can unscrew that top when I put the cool mats in, the insulation, sound, temperature insulation, and all of that. So that is where we're at right now for the air conditioning unit. Still not, plumbed or anything. There's so much more to do on that. And I've left the plenum here to where I can remove the top and access it, but it is insulated on the inside. So I've got the box insulated. I also am going to insulate this entire engine bay area. So if I can zoom out, there we go. I'll go ahead and insulate that. So it does mean my little swirly design that I made was really for nothing, but that's all right. It didn't take very long. But I've been reading more and more about the heat from this engine and how so much of it passes into the cab. And nobody said they've insulated too much. So I'm going to do the insulation roll on the engine side, and then I'll have the cool mat stuff that I've got. I think it was Breeze Automotive I bought the cool mats from, and I might be misnaming it, but that will go in the entire cockpit. So that's as far as the AC goes for the vent locations. Now you also notice I've got some wiring ran. So I've got the Ron Francis wiring harness. What I really liked about that is everything was very plug and play as far as where it's located. I love how they labeled all the ends. So that made it a little bit easier to figure out what goes where. There's still a little bit of art. It's not all just science. There is some art of some of the things, how you want to run wires. For example, I really like that he did this. These are extra wires, and two of them, these two go to the courtesy light. Well, anyways, two of them go to courtesy lights, and then there's a radio on, constant on, a regular radio, and a wiper. So for me, I am going to put a wiper kit in, and then also I'm not going to put a radio in per se, but you'll see later what my plan is for that. So I've got an idea that I think will be a little bit unique. And then also these switches here. This is the fan, blower, and temperature control for the air conditioning and the heater. So I'm not using that switch plate. I think it looks ugly. I mean, it's plastic and cheap looking, but I am pulling the switches out of it. They will go into the dash mount, which I don't want to show just yet. I really want to wait until that's done before I show the dash, because I don't think it'll do it justice if I just show it halfway done. Also, with the kit, or with what I purchased, the complete kit, had like a 6-inch strip. Here it is, actually. This is the courtesy light strip that came with the car. So it's just this tiny little LED strip. This, you can cut it and solder it. That's fine and all, but what I did was purchased, here's a piece of it right here. This is a truck bed. So I like how it's sealed. It's for a truck bed. So it's got 3 pieces. You can run all the way around the inside of a truck bed. And so that, I'm not gonna stick it in, but what I've done so far is I do have one that starts here and it goes under, and I'll clean it up, of course. It goes under the foot box. So I'll light this box up under the dash and that foot box. And then the third one, I'm actually going to run inside the trunk. And I lost my word there. So I'll run it inside the trunk, and I'm switching them, making them to the headlight switch, so where you turn the headlight knob, it will light up. I don't think I'm doing the automatic door pressure switch. The idea of it seems a little finicky on these cars, I think, with the fiberglass. I don't know, maybe I will later, but for now, that's how I'm gonna set it up. I think that'll work just fine. But yeah, the wiring was fairly fun. You know, got it nice and clean, headlights and power steering column and all that stuff. Through the firewall so far. I just kept everything labeled for now. And like I said, I do need to do quite a bit of cleanup still, but that Ron Francis kit's pretty good. Pretty darn cool. Yeah, so Amazon there's a ton of LED strips you can get from Amazon, and I can control the color, which is kind of cool, even though it'll probably just be white most of the time. Battery box, that's another thing I just did. So this isn't done yet, but here I've moved the battery to the front. So instead of taking up valuable trunk space, because the trunk space is very small in these cars, I've moved the battery location. So this is a battery box, and right now it's just sitting there. I've got a Cleco on the front side. On the back side, I have to tap, and I got to tap and dice that on the way, but I've got to tap holes so that I can put hex bolts in on the inside of there. So once that's done, then I'll finish the wiring. There's a hole, and I actually learned this from Frank over at IE427. There's a hole right there, and that hole, you can actually weld a bolt to it and make that your ground. And so it'll be a shorter ground from the battery box to that hole versus tapping a ground in somewhere else. Also, I heard that I've read that the shorter distance to the starter makes it crank a lot easier. So people really like this location. Almost kind of surprised that Factory 5 hasn't suggested this location on the front end, because it seems to be a good plan for it. And then also better center of gravity, better weight distribution. You know, they say the more weight you can have closer to this point, right about here, the better for the car. So that's the plan for that. You also don't have to have a kill switch, easier access to change the battery. Yeah, I did have to move a brake line. So I don't know if you remember, if you've seen the previous videos, I had a brake line running right up this, they call it the X bar. And right where that thing is mounted in. So I just pushed it under and moved the mouse just slightly, but there is that brake line that goes up to that front passenger brake. Other than that, oh, the last thing, I try to talk about what things I've done, tools I've gotten, or to make my job easier. This doesn't make it easier, but I put a very manly dry erase board instead of that wimpy white dry erase boards you see. This is just a sheet of aluminum, and that's permanent marker that I use Sharpies on it. And with the brake cleaner, I just wipe it off whenever I need to. But I really like it because the kids know, nobody can run up and mess with it. And with our kids, they're just all over the place. Now, I did have, I can't really say what it is, but my wife did some nice art for me on this board the other day. So I might need to hang the markers a little bit higher. Anyways, so that's day 90. Next up, well, more wiring. The wiring is ongoing. More air conditioning work. Finishing up the battery box, back to the dash. I've got the dash put together and a lot of wiring done. The gauges are in the dash, but I want to get all the switches and everything really installed. And then I plan to mount the dash in a way that I can remove the dash a little bit easier than I see it in a lot of the videos. But my plan is to show that all at once and not have a little bit at a time. So this way should be a little bit of I'm hoping for a wow factor, something different for sure, but we will see how it works out. Day 90, see you next time.